So we're back with Geometry Grading for Learning. In video 1, discuss the vision in the class setup and the 4 types of assessments that the students will use to assess the students on mastery of the information that we have learned in class. This next video is going to talk through some monitored checks. So how is homework going to be done in Grading for Learning? How do those help sessions work? And some of the curriculum things, absent policies that we will also follow as well. So those monitored checks are going to be 0% of the grade, and that seems a little different, but we're using 0% and putting it in the grade book just so we can kind of monitor and track the students' process of learning, because we know that in math, practice is very important. So those monitored checks will be used to keep track of students' process of learning through nightly homework assignments and one-on-one teacher help sessions. So when they come in for to show us that they've done their homework, maybe they didn't do the first night, or they need some one-on-one help, we will track those just to see how the students are learning and what helps them have success. So these monitored checks will also be used to earn those reassessment opportunities for dailies during each unit, which was those reassessment opportunities were talked through in the video number 1. Monitored checks and reassessment opportunities will be available up until the day before the test. So we want to make sure that the students are taking responsibility and doing it before the very last day. Up to 2 reassessments can be taken per day. So if you want to take lessons 3 and 4 and 5, you can do maybe reassessment lessons 3 and 4, but you will have to come back and do the reassessment 5 another day. Some homework grading keys. So every day when they come in, they'll take that 5-question daily quiz, and we will also be checking their homework. So here's our kind of the key that we'll be using. So if they earn a 0, that key just means that they did not have their homework and did not turn it in. So the first day, they will either get a 0 or a 2. So they didn't do it or they did it. And 2 will mean that they turned in completed homework. So it's completed and it's checked on the day. So if I had a lot to do that night and I got a 0 and I didn't do my homework, they can earn a 1, which means they didn't turn their homework in on time, but they did turn it in late. And that homework is completed and checked. So we want to give them the opportunity to earn that reassessment, or to just, sometimes we have a lot going on and we do want them to have that power to continue to want to finish the homework or to do their homework even if they didn't do it the first night. The grade book would have 1 homework for each lesson. So remember, we're trying to give you as many keys as possible so you can always refer back to it. Homework will be checked on the day it is due. We in math like to put up homework keys, and we are going to post those on Schoology to check their work. So a few pointers on what a homework key really is. So the homework key is to be used to check homework answers, so to grade their homework after the student has worked their own problem. Maybe it's used to help students start a problem because I got stuck, I don't really know where to start, or to get them through the problem. So maybe I've started the problem, but I'm not really sure where to go next. So this homework key is to check and correct and to get them just, unstuck. I got stuck, but I do want to know how to do the problem. The homework answer key is not to copy or transfer answers on their own paper, or say the student did it. And this is where Grading for Learning comes in, and we want to make sure that the students are understanding it. So the homework is the process, but we want them to be able to show that they have mastered the content. So that's really important, why that homework is assigned and done correctly, because then the students will be able to understand it and master it. Students must check and correct homework each night to verify understanding. That's why we put that homework key up there, is just so the students can make sure and verify that they are doing the correct work. The homework answer key will be taken down the day after it is put up, and we'll take it down about 6:45 in the morning. If students did not have homework the day it's due, students will need to visit the teacher to check their homework before school or after school. So those homework answer keys are always available. The only time it will be available at home will be the day it is assigned. So students should not share homework answers with any other student, and students may only seek help for understanding the content from fellow students. So we encourage collaboration. We encourage students to help each other. We don't encourage students to just give the other student the answer. So if a student wants to help a friend through a problem or work through one together, I would love to see that. That is very exciting to see in the hallways. What we don't want to happen is for somebody to hand over their homework and another student just copy it down. 1 or 2 allows the students to have the reassessment. So note that if in the grade book it says a 1 or a 2, they are allowed to take that reassessment number 1. If student needs reassessment number 1, students will need to contact the teacher to set up that reassessment time, which was already talked about earlier. So we also talked about that one-on-one teacher help session, which also allows reassessment number 2. So here's the key that you'll see in the grade book. An E is the student was not required to meet with the teacher because he or she made a 5 on the daily quiz originally, or in reassessment number 1. So an E is pretty much, you can think of it as excused. A 0 is the student did not meet with the teacher, and a 1 is the student did schedule and attended the help session with the teacher. So these two are very important, and we're just, again, monitoring to make sure that we're seeing the learning process and we're seeing that the students are taking responsibility in their learning. The grade book will have one of these for each section, so we labeled it as T, the teacher help. One-on-one help sessions are highly encouraged anytime the student has a question or feels like he or she needs more explanation. Help sessions are required before a student can take their reassessment number 2. Now, this help session is not necessarily pertaining to that really quick 5-minute come in class to see the teacher because I had a question on homework or something like that. This is really kind of getting down into more of a tutoring session to sit down and re-explain a lesson you don't understand, or to kind of go back through some of the mistakes you're making that doesn't allow you to show that mastery. Comments in the gradebook will show date and duration the student met with the teacher. So we will try to keep as much information loaded into RenWeb as possible. That way that communication is there for the parent and student and teacher to have. Scheduling those help sessions. Each help session will be around 15 minutes per each lesson, and the student can schedule longer help sessions if needed. So if 15 minutes might not be enough time, we can always lengthen that session. Student must email the teacher with requests of times and what lesson they want to review. That constant communication, just so we don't have 2 students or 3 students in here at once. We want to make sure that communication is up front, so we have the time slot needed. The time is not set until the teacher has confirmed. So we will try to get back to you as soon as possible. That's why we would like a day in advance, just to make sure our schedules are cleared. Depending on scheduling time, students will be requested to visit. You can visit Mrs. House or Mrs. Scott, or either. Sometimes our schedules are better for some students than others. So we encourage you to visit either one of us. Reassessment number 2, students do have opportunities to have help sessions followed by the reassessment. So you can do it the same day if you would like to. If student needs more time to review, they can email us to help set up that reassessment time. So that's kind of an overview of the monitor checks. Below is kind of how the curriculum is going to look. So in this first quarter, Unit A, Unit B, and Unit C, again, are going to be separate, and we've separated this so RenWeb can kind of keep up. So in this first quarter, Unit A will be Chapter 1, Unit B Chapter 2, Unit C Chapter 3. In each quarter, it will change, and we will try to make it as clear as possible what Unit A is about, Unit B, and so on. In each of these quarters, remember, there will be a monitored check. That will be worth 0%, but we will keep up to date on each quarter as well. So there will be a separate monitored check that will restart each quarter. We do have a Chapter 13, and it's actually over probability. So we, in geometry, really like to go over that, but we don't have a specific area that it fits into. So it will actually be dispersed over all the quarters and evenly distributed into Unit A, B, and C. So just wanted to make you aware of that, just in case you see some Chapter 13 show up in Unit 4 or Unit 5 or maybe even Unit 3. Some of the absent policies for grading for learning. So if it's excused, students will have the same amount of days as missed to make up any of the assessments. So if I miss 2 days, I need to make it up in, I need to make those 2 daily quizzes or review quizzes up within those 2 days. That's actually in the student handbook if you would like to go read that. Students are responsible for getting their makeup work. We try to put up as much as possible on RenWeb for that communication. Students are responsible for setting up makeup assessment times with teachers before school, after school. So we don't want to take up a lot of the class time while teaching is going along. So if you are missing those dailies or review or the unit test, please make sure we are making that up. Unexcused absences, daily or review quizzes missed will be required to take. But the exemption will be not possible. So we still encourage that mastery of the knowledge, but because it is unexcused, the opportunity to be exempt from the unit test will not be available. Pre-approved and school-sponsored events, and this is super important and super detailed, but we wanted to make sure we put it in here. Students will be expected to keep up with material assignments and assessments missed the day they are absent from class and attending a school-sponsored event. So when students return to class, what are they expected to do? He or she will be expected to take any daily quizzes, review quizzes, or chapter tests that was missed, as well as any assignments or assessments given on the returning day or any absent material. Students will not be allowed for extra makeup time. Please note. So if your student will be absent, we highly encourage them to come and communicate with the teacher pertaining to the school-sponsored event. In advance, get those notes, assignments, what's expected of them as they return, etc., to prepare them for when they are returning. So if they have questions about the lesson or need some of that little tutoring help, please have them come in and get maybe a one-on-one session just to clarify anything, but they will be responsible for what they missed that day, and that communication is very necessary prior to them leaving, just so everybody's on the same page. I think that's about all. Here's a sample unit that we've kind of laid out. So this is chapter or unit 3. We'll have 7 daily quizzes, which 5 points each. 2 review quizzes, one will be worth 30 points, one will be worth 40. There will be 3 lessons in the first, 4 lessons in the second, and then because each 7 sections is 15 points, that will be a total of 105 points on that chapter test. 7 homework assignments will be worth 0 points. So here's a weekly layout that you might see. So we go over lesson 1 here, and then we take the daily quiz the next day. So that's just a run through of what chapter 3 might look like. And here is what the grade book will be like. So again, a little bit new, but we're super excited about grading for learning, and hopefully this video helped.